And when we found out we were pregnant, the first thing his father said to me was, if you have this baby, I'm going to kill myself. So the first thing I did was contact his friends and family and let him know his mental state and let him know that I cannot care for him right now because I need to care for myself. And then it turned to, instead of I'm going to kill myself, if you have this baby, I'm going to make your life a living hell. On June 19th, I've got 2 police officers coming to my door. I just finished changing my son's diaper and I'm getting him ready for his sleep. And he's not walking. I have him on my hip and I answer the door. So they tell me that I'm being charged for 3 counts: assault, damage to property, and causing bodily harm. They were there for 3 hours. I told them everything. And they were so apologetic afterwards. They were like, we're really sorry. We know these things happen to you. Like, there's a lot of things that happened to me during COVID that I haven't shared with you yet. But I went to therapy for that because I had nightmares about a cop pulling a gun out on me with my baby because Martin told them that I was armed and dangerous. And that was hard. That was really, really hard to know that there's a man in my house with a gun and I have a baby on my hand and he's ready to pull it out on me.
Perfect time to dark toast. Follow me through the darkness. Follow us through the darkness. I'm with Dark Lorraine.
Dark Lorraine.
Yes.
Yeah,
sure.
it's funny. My name means dark warrior.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what Lorraine means?
Yeah.
Lorraine, how do we know each other?
Well, we know each other through improv. I started doing improv for my own therapy when I realized that I was going to be in this situation for a long period of time. I needed something new that was going to put me out of my comfort zone, but yet still feel safe. So I reached out to a very good friend, a well-known improvisational teacher here in Montreal, Sandy Armstrong. And I said, can I take one of your classes? And she was like, absolutely, come. And I did. I took one of her classes. And then she's like, you are a natural. I want you to take more classes on me. And then I did. Fantastic. And I haven't stopped since.
Yeah, it's like I love how that's how we met. What year was it?
Oh gosh, that must have been 2022.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, 2022.
Yeah, because I had been involved with improv since 2019, and I knew you trickled after COVID.
Yes.
And I remember you, like, because you really stood out.
Yeah.
You were really glowing, and I didn't know that you were in this situation, we'll call it. So we're talking about narcissism, and I mean, there are people who don't know us that are watching this, and they want to know a little bit about who we are, because both of us have a narcissist kind of story in our life.
Yeah.
And people throw that word a lot
Yes.
around. Okay?
Yes.
So I really want to be truthful.
Okay.
Because people say this word narcissist, and it's just a hunch, it's just a suspicion. They're not really thinking about the clinical diagnosis of what makes a narcissist. They're not thinking about the features. And what's going on with what we're doing right now in this video is we're sharing our story. We have that experience, but we also have a really important skill of being able to communicate it to people. We've been developing that skill since improv.
Yes.
Right? We've been developing the ability to see and then explain. That's something that not everyone can really do.
True.
Yeah, that's not something that everyone can do. And a lot of times with this word, narcissism, people have a bad intention to try to bring someone else down through reputation, right? They lie about how someone has a personality disorder, and people don't know us. I know you though. I know that you're an honest person. And so we have to talk about our intentions. For me, that's a huge thing on this channel as well.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I know a lot of people throw out that word because it's been quite popular in the past like 5 or 10 years. But in my particular situation, my abuser's been diagnosed by 2 different doctors.
Fantastic.
And that's why I use the word instead of manipulation or coercive control, because it's been diagnosed. The only thing is it's just not been recognized by the courts. And that's why I'm so adamant about talking about it, because it's like alcoholism in my books. There are some people that can handle their alcohol, and there are some people that can't. There are some people that can handle their narcissism, and there are some people that can't.
Yeah.
We all have narcissistic traits, but there are some people who are plagued by their narcissism and they cannot help it. And so that's why I want to build more awareness. That's one of my intentions today, is to grow awareness, build awareness, and also share our stories.
Yeah. And I'm just going to ask you right off the top, would you say that the more you talk about it, the more that you share it, the more at ease you are with talking about it, the more clear it is for you? Yeah, immediately that response, immediately.
100,
right?
because first of all, I didn't even know what narcissism was until he was diagnosed. 2, I didn't realize there were so many people affected by this. And I get DMs every single day with someone sharing a story, especially on Instagram, literally just this long message about their story and like, thank you for sharing your story. I never told anybody before. I never told any. I just got a message this morning of this woman. She's been going through this for 9 years. And the only people that know about it is her family. And she just said, I'm so glad that you've been sharing this because I feel like I can talk about it more. And I'm in my mind like, why aren't you talking about this?
Yeah,
like,
wild.
Yeah.
Wild. And I love exploring everything that narcissism comes with, what you just said there, the secrecy of it.
Yes.
To me, that is fascinating. I was gonna ask at the end of the video, we're gonna recap what our favorite parts of the conversation were, or what fascinates you specifically right now in the entire topic.
Sure.
I'll just be upfront right now, and I've already thought about this so many times.
Okay.
To me, the secrecy part is always the most fascinating. People keeping their mouth shut, self-sacrificing, enabling, pretty much, self-abandoning. These words, when I hear these words, I immediately connect with them. I immediately resonate with them. And I explore all the reasons why people do that.
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad that we got our intentions established.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, there's so many therapists on my journey that I listen to religiously. I'll say a couple of their names. I brought the books over here just to prove I'm legit.
Sure.
Like, I'm really legit. Hey guys, like, this is the real deal. We're keeping it truthful.
What books do you have here?
All right. So this is the big one, Dr. Ramani Durvasula.
I just started. Okay, so I have an issue with Ramani.
Okay.
Because
you have an issue with her.
I do, because she hasn't forgived her abusers.
Yeah, she's not about forgiveness.
So
that's kind of interesting.
For me, I cannot follow somebody who hasn't fully healed.
Okay.
And I'm okay with her messages, and I'm
Yeah.
okay with her perspective and her clinical explanations of passing through the feelings of realizing that you've been affected by a narcissist and how to set up boundaries. But I like to go deeper. I'm a very spiritual person, and I do believe in forgiveness.
Yeah.
I do believe in compassion.
Yeah.
I do believe God loves everybody, even our abusers. So I'm down with what she has to say, but I'm not going to follow somebody who's not going to guide me where I want to go.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I brought this up. Okay, some of these 2 other books.
Yeah.
The Human Magnet Syndrome.
Yeah.
Do you know who Ross Rosenberg is?
Yes, I do. I do.
Cool. So these 2 books. Okay, let me tell you about these 2 books.
Please.
I didn't even know how fast I could read until I read these books.
That's like Michael Singer.
I didn't even know that.
Michael Singer, I read one of his books in a whole night. Like, I could not go to sleep until
Michael Singer?
Michael Singer is not necessarily writing about narcissism, but he mainly writes about surrender and forgiveness and letting go.
Cool.
Yeah, and letting the universe guide you.
Yeah, I didn't realize when you connect with someone's message, it's like this was an autobiography for me. Like when I read these books, it was just like, oh my God, they're telling me my story.
Wow.
So I blared through these books. I just like literally 4 or 5 days.
Amazing.
And to me, like, that's too fast. I did not realize I could read that fast.
I believe it.
That speaks on the experience that I have. Of course, we can make a video for all of the things that I'm about to introduce, because I'm gonna just briefly say a couple of words associated with narcissism really shortly. You got our intentions, you know what to expect in this video. In this video, we're gonna talk about how did you get here and why am I talking to you. We're talking about narcissism codependence.
I'm just gonna get a Kleenex 1 second.
For sure, do you. We're gonna talk a little bit about what manipulative tactics, survival tactics to maintain the relationship dynamic look like for a narcissist. We're gonna talk about their poison, their oxygen, how to change this pattern, addiction to the pattern. And in closing, we're gonna talk about the favorite parts of the video. So that's what you guys can expect from this video. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the words associated with narcissism.
Please.
All right, so this is gonna be good for you, Lorraine.
For sure.
Before you tell your story,
Absolutely.
these words are gonna really like set the tone. They're gonna set the stage for.
This is a book that I walk with.
Oh, what's the book?
It's just a Bible.
Oh, fantastic! And by the way, I love how interested you are in spirituality
Yes.
and how open you are in talking about
course.
God, because actually God is a really big part of my life.
Yeah.
And I know that there's no way of hiding it from me. I'm going to be doing videos, so I might as well just be honest about my relationship with God and how that's actually been a really crucial part for my healing.
Yeah.
I know it. So
I'm
I
not
don't need to
religious
hide
at
it.
all. I'm
Yeah.
not religious at all. I'm just,
thank you.
yes, no, friends. I'm not religious at all, but I do believe in a higher power. And I believe that if I wasn't tapped in and connected to my higher power, I probably wouldn't be here right now.
Not a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see people that are spiritually malnourished, and you
Yeah.
can tell that that's clearly.
Dr. Ramani is spiritually malnourished.
Yeah.
Definitely. She is intellect. She's trying to heal through intellect. And you cannot heal solely through intellect. You have to go into your spiritual. And that means there's a vulnerability and a stripping of identity. And she's so holding on to her identity, it's going to be impossible for her to let go until she just...
Yeah, I hear a lot of pushback on that, specifically the forgiveness aspect on Med Circle. I don't know if you know about
Ooh,
that,
yes,
that
yeah.
resource.
Yep.
Fantastic resource. So I'm excited about just saying some of the words that I've learned from those resources. From all these resources, these are the words that I hear when I hear about narcissism. I hear the word manipulation, manipulative tactics, manipulative forms of communication, so stonewalling, gaslighting, denying, baiting, induced conversation, provoking, love bombing. I hear that love bombing is a pattern of idolize, devalue, discard, timing the resurgence of love, timing, a lot of timing, protest behavior, accusing, blaming, shaming, deflecting attention, codependence, walking on eggshells, triangulation, weaponizing vulnerabilities, demolishing your reputation demolish, social predator, victim card, playing victim, humiliation, virtue signaling, indirect communication, so passive aggression, sneaky aggression, learned behavior, trauma response, trapped, deciphering, skepticism, paranoia. When I get these resources, when I learn from these resources, those are the words that show up. Does any of that sound familiar to you?
All of it.
All of it. Fantastic. Okay. So now we're going to talk about you.
Okay.
We're going to talk about you, and if you wouldn't mind starting.
Sure.
Did you grow up with two parents in the house?
I
You
did.
grew up in a healthy
My
house.
parents are married, still married. They're going on their 58th year of marriage. And they're from Jamaica. They came in the late 60s. My father's a professional chef. He's one of the first black professional chefs recognized by the Canadian Federation of Chefs in Canada. And when he came to Canada in the late 60s, alone, he worked for a bit, and then he sent for my mom. And she was pregnant at the age of 19. They got married, and they started their life in Ottawa. My mom is a nurse. My father had the restaurant, and they've always just hustled and worked really hard to provide for us. I would say the dynamic that I grew up in the household was both of my parents were very controlling. I think coming from a Jamaican background, grow in raising children in a predominantly white neighborhood, it was really important for them to present clean, respectful, well-behaved children. And they had eyes on them all the time, not only from their own peers, but also from our white neighbors. So they really put a lot of rules on us to create the facade that they wanted to present. And I'm the last of 5 children.
5 children. I was
Yes.
about to ask that.
Yeah.
So
I'm the last of 5, so I didn't follow those rules. I was born in the mid-70s, and I guess very early on, I was that person in my family where everybody would say, Lorraine, go and tell Dad, go and ask Dad this, go and ask Mom this, you go do it. Because they knew that I was a brave one to push the boundaries. And because I pushed boundaries, I was able to evoke truth from my parents that they weren't necessarily wanting to share with my siblings before, because my siblings were afraid of my parents. I wasn't. So I was able to push boundaries, and which affected change in our house, which was a good thing. And that trickled into my school. I've always had issues with authority. My teachers, principals, when things don't make sense to me, I ask questions. If the answers don't come, then I push harder. And it's been to my detriment, but it's also been for good as well. So I've always had issues with school and authority. Mind you, my grades have always been great, and I think that's probably why I never got kicked out of school, because I had really good grades. I was a very great athlete, but I also pushed boundaries. And as a result, I learned to be compassionate towards people who didn't have a voice, who didn't stick up for themselves. Like I said, I'm the youngest of 5, and my brother, that's 3 years older than me, was very quiet. He didn't stand up for himself. So I was the one beating up his bullies. I was the one chasing down the people after school saying, hey, give back my brother's backpack, or stop hitting him, or something like that, because he didn't have that voice. And it's followed me throughout my life now, to the point where I am standing up for narcissistic abuse survivors, because people in authority are not advocating for us. There's no systems in place to protect survivors. There's systems in place to protect alcoholics against themselves and society, but there's no systems in place to protect narcissists for themselves and society. And I really want to spark conversations about that, because I can only see this getting worse. There are too many people out there that have suffered that haven't said anything, and it's led us up to this point now where there's nothing in place to help us.
I like how you knew why I was asking you about your upbringing. You immediately identified kind of what I was looking
I didn't
for,
even know.
is if you had a background in having good boundaries, or if you had a background in being able to speak your preferences freely and at ease. Because when people get in these kind of situations, narcissist codependent situations, what a lot of times people will do is they'll trace the reason why they're in a relationship with an abuser because it's familiar. They're in a chaotic environment. They happen to pick a partner that can replicate what they experienced as a child. They were abused when they were a child, or they were in an abusive situation, a chaotic environment. So what do people do? They go after that because it's familiar to them.
Absolutely.
So I like how, as I was asking you about what your upbringing was, nuclear family, you immediately just started saying, well, as soon as people crossed the line, I stood up comfortably. And so, it was in Ottawa?
Yes.
Mostly in Ottawa. When did you get back here?
I moved to Montreal in 2007.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, let's say you're in Ottawa. You grew up a lot of your life in Ottawa. You fell in love with someone there. Is that, how you met your
No, actually,
present person that you're in trouble with right now?
no, actually, we didn't meet in Ottawa. I moved to Montreal in 2007 against my parents' wishes. They really wanted me to go to law school. Like I said, my personality is to stand up and to speak for what I believe is truthful. But I worked for a lot of politicians and lawyers in Ottawa, and I did not want to go that route. I could see the courses of manipulation that they would use to win, and I never wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah,
it's not my sole purpose to lie to get what I want. It's more my sole purpose is to tell the truth, to bring things up.
Okay, so you worked in court.
No, I did not work in court, but I worked as a nanny for lawyers and politicians. So
Okay,
I would read their briefing, I would hear them on the phone, I would go to their parties, and I would see the shit that they would do.
Oh, no
I'm
way.
not joking. Like, they would pay people off to get stuff done. And I knew in my heart that I never wanted to be a part of that. I don't want to sell my soul to be right.
Yeah. Okay. So when were you a nanny for politicians, and for how long?
Oh my God.
That is fascinating. That is fascinating.
When did I start? Probably in 98.
Okay.
98 to about 2007 till
Whoa,
I moved.
Yeah, for quite a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were working as a nanny for people who have power,
Yes.
and you saw them abuse
Yes.
power. And when you saw people abuse power, it's so crappy how we don't have any recordings or any kinds of proof. That would be a whole other level. Of course not. But which, by the way, another time.
Yeah.
I don't want to digress too much.
No.
But these are some of the experiences that you had that kind of like course corrected you and made you like what we're seeing right now. Like, made us. Is that what that was?
Yeah, that's
I
for
have
you.
something?
That's for
okay,
you.
Okay, cool. I look ugly? Okay.
No, it's just that I just go like that. That's all. I just wanted to. So
Thank you. And so you saw these things, and that's a big deal. I mean, you see people cheating and how it affects other people's lives
Yes.
as well. Imagine that.
And the glory
Yeah.
that they feel when they've tricked the system.
Yeah.
It's such an ugly, disgusting feeling that I knew I didn't want to manifest within myself.
Wild.
So my parents, I never told them about all that stuff that I saw, but they wanted me in that life. And I was like, hell no. So I came to Montreal to study the early childhood education system. I'm still gonna wipe it off because it's bothering me.
Just do it.
Yeah. I moved to Montreal to study the early childhood education system because, as you know, Quebec during the 90s was all about promoting this $7 a day, or I don't know if it was $5 a day at the time, or $7 a day daycare system. And I was like, how can they manage $7 a day? Like, don't you care about your children? So I came here to study it. And I created a pilot program in my own personal daycare that focused on social and emotional development. Most daycares focus on academics, and I wanted to focus on making sure our children were confident enough to speak their mind against their own parents, against their own teachers, against authority, so that their needs would be met. Because we are not teaching our children to be individuals. We are teaching our children to be collective robots, to go into the workforce. And that's not my style at all. So from 2010 until 2020, I had my own home daycare. And we had...
2020?
Yeah, 2020.
Oh, right to COVID. Okay.
Right to COVID. We had to close because of COVID. That's when I got pregnant. And was forced to close for my own safety and for my own well-being. But during this time, I was able to partner with McGill University with a child psychology department, take some courses there, realize that they're pretty much researching the same thing. They're realizing the gap that we have in our early childhood education system. We don't have staff trained to help children identify their emotions, state their needs, and take action. We have educators teaching our ABCs, our 1, 2, 3s, our how to jump and how to crawl, but nothing that's focused on our emotional well-being. And that's going to be our problem later on in life, is our children are not going to know how to stand up for themselves.
When did you have this conversation with people that are in charge?
Probably in about 2016, 2017. That's when I started. One of my clients at my daycare, she was putting a project together for homeschooling parents, and she asked if her child that was being monitored by McGill University could come into my daycare and be monitored with the McGill University students. And I was like, absolutely, 100%. So when I was reading what they were doing and they were seeing what I was doing, I was like, I'm glad that we're on the same page. And that's when I just became more interested in social emotional development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, like, you have a lot of experiences, and if I didn't ask you about this, I wouldn't have known this kind of stuff. So the nanny thing from 98 to 2007, like, just learning about manipulative tactics and seeing it being rewarded, and I'm sure there's plenty of stories immediately as soon as I say that. Then there's the daycare, and then there's specifically within the daycare, you're trying to actually encourage at a young age, when children have learned behavior,
Yes.
developing learned behavior, develop the ability to speak your truth and spot accuracy, just discuss freely and comfortably what's going on, what's up, and
Yes.
decipher, and just all these important social skills that, of course, just free you from any kind of bad social environment or social experience.
Yes.
Okay, is there anything else? I don't mean to cut you off
That's right.
again, but in your experience, in your work experiences leading up, that you feel like is worth sharing, that can help people understand how involved you are in this kind of stuff? Because
Very involved. I mean, I started a nonprofit organization in 2010 at the same time as my daycare, called When We Play. It's now, we've dissolved it, but at the time it was creating art activities for youth and families so that we could prompt conversations about emotions and through the use of art. So we had a drawing class for adults at one point in time, and that was just getting adults out of their comfort zone, out of the perfectionist mindset. A lot of the drawings were done where we were not looking at our page while we were drawing, and just letting go of that control of wanting to get it right.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I would use a lot of art therapy to prompt conversations about emotions and deep feelings.
Yeah, and you've got your four-year-old child right now, Sparrow.
Yes.
And that's fantastic. I know when I bumped into you last week, the energy was awesome.
Okay.
It was a really good energy. I love your child. Man. This guy's energy is great.
Yes.
And he's just a great thing.
Yes.
I can tell he's in a good space. He's well taken care of. And this is really important for me. When I see that, I just respect that a lot.
Well, one of the things is, when I got pregnant with Sparrow, it was in 2019, in October, actually. I think it was October 15th, to be honest with you. And when we found out we were pregnant, the first thing his father said to me was, if you have this baby, I'm going to kill myself. So the first thing I did was contact his friends and family and let him know his mental state, and let him know that I cannot care for him right now because I need to care for myself. And then it turned to, instead of I'm going to kill myself, if you have this baby, I'm going to make your life a living hell. And threats like that don't do too much to me, but I knew that I had to prepare my son for this life. So since he was born, I have been preparing my son for our separation. I've been preparing my son to understand his own truth, not mine, not his father's, but his own, what's right for him. And that's why Sparrow is quite dynamic, because he can speak his mind at 4 years old. I've been doing this since he was a baby, to stand up to me. If he doesn't like something, you tell me. If you don't like the way Mama's speaking to you, you tell me. I'm not going to be offended by that. And yes, sometimes I'm taken back where he'll be like, Mama, when you talk to me, I didn't like that. And in my mind, I'm like, well, child, that's just too bad for you. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I wasn't at my best. I'm very sorry. I'm not at my best. And I love when my son has conversations with my parents, and he'll just tell them, you know, Nana, Mama didn't speak so nice to me, but she said sorry. And I'm like, oh, that's the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's a two-way thing.
It is.
It's a two-way
It
thing.
is a
That's
two-way
what a
thing.
relationship is.
It is.
And, okay. I was immediately frozen, by the way, about how Sparrow's father spoke to you. So that's immediately the first thing that comes to mind, the threats. And, okay, let's back up a little bit. How did you meet this guy? When did he come into your life?
Oh, God.
And what's the whole story around that? Because I'm going to push back here. Because
Yes.
a lot of people are going to say, hey, well, if you don't like this person, why did you decide to have a child with this person?
Yeah.
Let's figure that all out. Okay.
I will be 100 with that. I got myself into the situation because of my own perfectionism. At the time in 2018, I had just was officially divorced from my husband. We were together for 7 years. We were married for 1. He's autistic on the spectrum, and he now has a husband. And we separated, and I knew that when I got into that relationship, I was in a helping mode. I really wanted to help my husband graduate from university. He was an electrical engineer. I was really in the savior mode, and I wanted to fix that so bad. And I wanted to fix it so bad that I received counseling. And because I'm a dancer, my therapist at the time said, you need to find a ballroom dance partner that's going to allow you to be led. You need to be led. You need to surrender to that control that you want to have of helping somebody. Because to be a helper, to be a people pleaser, to be a savior, it's a form of control. It's not healthy. You're not doing good by believing that you could help somebody. Somebody needs to ask for help for you to present help. But if you already have it in your mind that you can help them, that is a form of control. And I didn't know that at the time. So I put in an ad on Bumble seeking a dance partner for ballroom dance. And my abuser answered the ad.
When was that? What year?
This was in 2018, the end of 2018. And we had arranged to go on a date at Pierre de what's it called again? Pierre de Coron. It's like a...
Pierre de Cochon.
Yeah, Pierre de Cochon, exactly.
On l'Italie.
Exactly. Big dance place, it's outdoor. And we were to meet on a Friday. And at the time I had my daycare. And I'll never forget this. The Friday that we were supposed to meet, I had major stomach pains. Like I felt like I was gonna be sick. And I canceled with him. I said, I'm sorry, I can't make it. And I called my friend who was a therapist, and I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just can't go on this date with this guy. She's like, maybe you're just afraid. Maybe you're afraid to be led. And I'm like, I don't know. So I booked another date with him. Again, same situation. Stomach pains, vomiting. I canceled. And I told my friend, I'm like, Cheryl, I don't know what's wrong. Like, I can't go on this date with this guy. She's like, just try, Lorraine. You're resisting the change. So the third time, same thing, but this time I called him. I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I really want to go dancing with you, but I just feel so much stress in my body. He's like, come and meet me. If you feel the same way, we'll call it off and we'll go our separate ways. So I meet him at Papineau Metro, and right away I feel at ease. I said, okay, let's go dancing. We had a blast. It was a Friday, and I said, do you want me to book dance classes for us? He's like, absolutely. So by the following Tuesday, we had a dance teacher. We had lessons starting on the next Friday. We had 4 ballroom dance classes. Great teacher, Cheryl Williams, love you. And after the 4th dance class, he says to me, Lorraine, I'm developing feelings for you, and I won't be able to continue dancing with you unless we pursue a relationship. My ego took over. I am so committed to learning to surrender. I am so committed to my therapy that I say, yes, fine, I'll get in a relationship with you because I want to learn how to be led. We take 4 more dance classes after that. And he says, I don't want to dance anymore. I don't feel like ballroom dancing anymore. So I'm in a relationship. We're not dancing. And I don't know how to break up with this guy because all I want to do is dance. But now I'm in a relationship and he's introduced me to his autistic daughter who calls me Mary Popin. And she's on my leg everywhere I go. And I love children. And now I'm committed to this child. I'm committed to this man, and I'm not getting my needs met. But being the people pleaser that I was, I sacrificed my needs to entertain theirs. So that was the trick. It was a bait and switch.
Yeah, you feel like that was
Oh, yeah.
really the way that he emotionally trapped you, you know?
Yes.
Okay.
So then he brought me into his world, which was capoeira, Angola capoeira here in Montreal. He brought me into their world. He's been training martial arts for 15 years. He brought me into this group, and I started training with them. It's a form of dance as well.
I know.
Yeah. So I felt, okay, I can follow the lead of the teacher. I can follow the lead of the other players. Kind of like improv, but dancing. But I didn't realize he was putting me in a situation where I was controlled because all these people knew him, but nobody knew me. So he could create a narrative for everybody. And I was wanting to fit in. So I stuck to his narrative. I played along with how he painted me. And whenever we broke up about 2 or 3 times before I got pregnant. Whenever we broke up, he would write a new script for them and they would believe it. And all I wanted to do was prove to them I'm not that person because I was so trapped in wanting to redeem myself. I was so trapped in wanting to prove myself. And with a narcissist, that's the game they play. I'm going to tell you who you are, and you're going to try your best to prove me wrong.
Okay. When you went to capoeira, okay, I'm sure at first the appearance was like, cool, like I'm now doing dance again, but I'm also going to be able to meet new people. I'm sure the appearance was really exciting.
Yes.
And did you have any did you make friendships outside of him? Or
yes.
Yeah.
I became really good friends with a teacher. In fact, the teacher's known him for 15 plus years, and she gave me the inside scoop. She's like, this guy has been deeply wounded, and he's got a lot of issues.
Okay.
And you have to be very gentle with him. And they have this mentality of, well, you know, it's just the way he is.
Yeah.
It's just the way he is. And then I find out that he's controlling their website. So she has to be
cautious about what she says to,
because he can pull the plug anytime.
Okay, what's going on with some of the indicators that he's toxic at the very beginning? So I see it. You guys go to dance, that's going great. You're gaining a lot because you're allowing someone to, lead and you're being subordinate, and that's a healthy thing. But were there any indicators in those original encounters? Now that you look in hindsight, you're shaking your head like, yeah, obviously now I see it. But at the time, did you overlook them because you felt the value of the dance? You felt the value of
community.
You felt like that was so important to you that you don't want to maybe speak your preferences or identify something you don't like because maybe I'm overthinking it. Is that kind of what sounds familiar to you, or is there something you want to talk about?
I was desperate to be connected in a community. Like he grew up in Quebec City, grew up in Montreal. He has a huge community of friends here, and I wanted to be belonging in that. And there wasn't a lot of Black people in their circle, so I stood out. And yeah, I deliberately put myself out there to be liked, to be accepted. And as a result, I had to play his game. One of the things that stuck out for me as a red flag that I remember, it hit me in my stomach and I ignored it. It was on New Year's Eve, and we went to this party at the Bâtiment 7. It was a community for the children were there, the families were there, and it was a New Year's Eve party. Is at late, and there was a bar, and I remember he asking him to get drinks, and in his mindset, it's always 50-50. Whenever we went on dates, it was always 50-50. Are you gonna pay your half? I mean, which is also another red flag. Okay, big time. And I'll never forget when I asked for him to get drinks, and I saw him go to the bar. And he ordered 2 drinks. And he was coming back to me with the drinks. And I remember him taking 3 big gulps out of a glass. And he came and he gave me the drink. The drink that he had just drank from.
Oh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I'll never forget that.
That is weird.
It was such a weird feeling.
Yeah, that's weird.
And I took the drink and I said, thank you. And I put it down, and he was just like drinking from his glass. It was so weird. And we broke up that night.
Oh, okay.
That was the first time I broke up with him. For other reasons. And I remember it was January 1st, I think it was like 12 at noon, he had written me this long email apologizing. I'll never meet anybody else like you. I'm so sorry.
It was a big email?
Yeah. Long email. And that was the first time I went against my gut, because I was free from that man at that point.
Yeah.
But he wheeled me right back in with that letter. That's the thing about people pleasers.
God.
We love words.
Okay.
People pleasers love to hear a good story.
Yeah, and I'll hammer you on this one,
Yes.
but it's probably pretty seductive for somebody who's lonely to want to be in communities, and like that is really appealing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me get this straight. When you're talking about this guy, were you in a place where you didn't actually have too many friends in Montreal or something like that?
Well,
because you had the daycare going on.
that's the
and
thing.
You had some people, I'm sure, that you cared and loved over there, right?
Well,
Is that
see,
something-
I had spent, I'm just gonna get my water, 1 second.
Yeah, take your time.
I had spent the past 8 years building my daycare, building my nonprofit, being in a relationship with an autistic man who literally, every assignment that he had in university, I would literally sit beside him as he would write, because he would procrastinate so much. Like, he's a straight A student. If he got a C on a class, he would drop it and start it again. And I was like, no, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to get your stuff done. So I would sit there with him while he would do all of his assignments. I neglected all my social friends and relationships. So I was so isolated on my relationship with my husband that I didn't breed other relationships.
Voluntarily, though? Like, he didn't make you? Okay.
No.
Because maybe you felt like you needed to nurture that relationship?
I did. He was such a brilliant man, and he was going to fall under the wayside if somebody didn't push his ass to get it done.
You were that much of a people pleaser?
I was.
Okay, so something's there. And I like how you started with, I'll admit, like, I got myself into this situation. So let's talk about it, because at the beginning, you really didn't sound like you had people-pleasing tendencies when you were growing up in school at Ottawa with your 5 siblings, getting them to tell you to talk to parents, and you telling me about not getting along with authority, as in you don't mind sitting in the tension of speaking your preferences. It sounds like they're 2 different people here. It sounds like that back then, growing up, you learned it's okay.
Yeah.
But now around 2018, when you're talking to this guy, you really want to get this relationship going. So you make you're self-sacrificing.
Yes.
And you're people pleasing.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Okay, so what's going on there? How come there's a disconnect? How come you're still so committed with this guy? It's like, is there anything else about this guy that makes him attractive enough that you're abandoning things you know that you shouldn't be abandoning.
I
Like,
was so committed to my therapy at that time. Like we talked earlier, I really wanted to get it right. I really wanted to move to the next step of my life, but I knew I wouldn't be able to get there unless I learned how to be led.
Okay.
If I didn't learn how to obey.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so, okay. Sorry I keep pushing back on this one,
No,
by the way. Because
please,
this is
please.
the one, and I'm glad I can tell, like, you have no problem sitting in the accountability. And
Nope.
that's not what this is all about.
It's okay.
But I want to learn, I want to be clear about this. You met him in 2018. What relationship, did you have a relationship before that? Did you say you,
Relationship with who?
anyone else? Or?
No, I didn't. After, like I said, I was so focused on my daycare, really focused on my nonprofit.
How about the nanny era? Like 1998 to 2007. Did you have an intimate relationship then?
Yes, actually, I was in a relationship with a man 16 years older than me, and he had 3 children.
With you?
Yeah, no, not with me.
Okay.
Outside of our relationship, and I was so committed to those children. Let me tell you, I love those children like they're my own.
You had that relationship for 16 years?
No, I was in a relationship for 4 years with him, and he was 16 years older than me.
I'm sorry, keep
Yeah,
going.
it's okay. And I love him. I love his children. I still communicate with him to this day.
Oh, wow.
And I left that relationship because I knew that I wasn't going to grow. I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. I was going to be working as an employee somewhere. No one was going to push me. And I can't be in a relationship where my partner's not going to push me. So I had to leave that relationship. I was so sad about it. That's actually one of the hardest relationships that I ever had to let go of.
Everything healthy?
Everything healthy was, yeah.
And okay, and how about any other relationships before worth noting?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, so then let's just say before 2018, this person, by the way, I'm not saying this person's name because I don't know if we should say this person's name. Are we leaving names out of this video?
For
Are we leaving names out of this video? Like,
we can add names. I'm okay with that.
Okay, well, what's the person's name in 2018? The person, the abuser.
Pardon me?
The abuser.
Oh, the abuser. My abuser is Martin. Yes.
Okay, and this is 2018. This is Capoeira guy.
Yes, this is
Okay.
Capoeira guy.
We'll call him that.
Yeah, we'll call him Capoeira guy.
Okay, so before Martin, there was this relationship for 4 years with the guy that's 16 years older than you. This person, that's the only other relationship where you can kind of like compare.
So backtrack. Capoeira guy,
Yeah.
autistic guy,
Autistic guy, we'll call him that.
and older guy.
Okay.
That's in Ottawa. So the Ottawa is a 16-year older guy.
That's the healthy relationship.
That's the healthy. Well, it's somewhat healthy. I mean, I don't think it was healthy because I was so committed to his children and not necessarily to him. But so older guy, autistic guy, narcissistic guy.
Okay, how long is autistic guy?
7 years.
Okay, and any markers of an abusive relationship?
Well, he's Italian. I'm Jamaican. When you marry an Italian, you're not marrying that person. You're marrying the family.
Okay. Yeah.
And the family was very abusive.
Oh, really?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, when you've got a nonna man, and a mother-in-law, and a sister.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much going on. Yeah, okay, I got you.
I mean, there's not enough tiramisu to eat to get through this. Okay. There's not enough. They're like, you can't make enough.
Yeah, there's good sides, there's bad sides. Sometimes, like, it's not a toxic. Well, would you just define it as a toxic thing?
Yes,
Okay,
definitely,
good. All right.
definitely.
Sometimes-
Father's a rage. Like the whole family was afraid of the dad. He's an alcoholic. I mean, there's so many things. So many
that's
things.
legit. Then.
Yeah.
Okay, because sometimes it is just like literally the way families get together, cultural thing, talking too much, and it can be perceived as gossipy. But it sounds like you're convinced. And alcoholism is never a cultural thing.
No.
It's never a cultural thing.
Yeah.
So okay, there's that. And you would say the relationship that really panned out, that worked out the best in your life, intimate relationship, was the 4 years with the guy with the children.
I really love George. He's Jamaican. He taught me a lot about my femininity because I'm such a tomboy. I grew up as a tomboy.
Yeah.
I have one sister. I have two sisters, two brothers, and I have one sister who's a real extreme tomboy, and then I have another sister who is a very fashionista. She's like a model. Security guard's coming. Merci.
Yeah. I guess what I was asking was, there's three people, and I'm trying to understand what it is you're looking for in when you're just making the decision to be in relationships consciously. It sounds like, you're going into these relationships because you want to grow and change as a person.
Yes.
And when you're in a relationship, you're considering how it's going to change you.
Yes.
And if you aren't going to be growing, if you're going to play a subordinate role, if you're not going to be like letting go,
yes,
or allowing someone to lead you, that's like kind of the primary attraction trigger for you. You're focusing on, who am I going to become? Am I going to love this person?
Yes.
And am I going to be treated nicely?
Yes.
Those are kind of the main things that you're thinking
100%,
about.
and that applies for everything. Like Martin, he's such a great dancer because of his corpora background, and because he's a narcissist, he really likes to show off, and I can handle show off energy. Like my oldest brother has Tourette's syndrome, so I grew up with somebody barking in public and hitting walls and people going, what the heck is going on? I know how to handle that embarrassed energy. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was like, oh great, somebody who can put on a show and I can manage that.
You're used to it.
I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier about sometimes we stick to what we know. And I was used to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and would you say there's a little bit of attraction there? It's like, that's cute, that's fun,
Yeah,
that's playful.
yeah,
it's
definitely.
playful, it's enjoyable,
Exactly.
it's showman, and that keeps the energy
Yes.
alive in the relationship.
Yes.
And it's fun, and
Yes.
it's like, something to talk about.
Yes.
So you don't really view it as something that's especially concerning, but after a while, perhaps you picked up on what it means to that person
Yes.
to be doing that.
Oh my God.
So,
It was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
would put on a show, and then behind closed doors, he was a completely different person. And that's where I was like, oh God, who is this guy? When I see him the realest is when he's with his mom. That's when you see the little boy inside of him that's so insecure, that's so sad and so angry at her. When I see him with his mom, that's when I'm like, oh, that's who you are. And his mom is so defeated because everything that he's doing to me now, his dad did to her.
Ooh,
And she's defeated. She's like an alcoholic. She's frail. She's nervous all the time. And he's the dynamic that they have is like he's kind of protecting her. They're too close. Like at one point in time, mothers have to let go of their sons. I know this. My son's almost 33, and there's no way I'm going to coddle this child, or this man. I'm not going to coddle him because I need him to be a man for somebody else. And if you're coddling your adult children, you're not doing them any favors.
Yeah.
And that's what she does. So when I started to see the real him, there's two parts of me. Wow, Lorraine, you got to get the hell away from him. And the other part was like, oh my God, Lorraine, you have to help him.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when the dark love work really becomes relevant. That's where relationships are to me, is like when you have these indicators, when you see these indicators, you go deeper down the rabbit hole of the relationship blueprint, how someone was raised, how someone was treated, learned behavior, how people are relating to one another, why they're doing that. These are so many of the more important questions when you're meeting somebody.
Yeah.
So anyways, you see the true colors. You just received the email back from
Martin. Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? What does that look like? You get him back into your life. Do you guys go on another date?
Yeah.
Do you guys go dancing again?
We go
What's going on? Is
yeah.
this like the next day? What's going on?
No,
with
it's not
that
the next
story?
day. What happened is there was a little bit of a break, and then we started dating again back in April. But before we started
Wow.
dating,
Yeah.
so from January 2019 to April 2019, I go out to dinner with his best friend.
Okay.
Best friend.
Just the two of you guys?
It's the two of us.
Oh, okay.
Vero. And she tells me something that I listened to and just went, but it stuck, the parts of me that stuck. She said, he told me that he ruined her life, and it took her 8 years to get out of the hellhole that he put her in, because they used to date. They were really in a relationship, And I don't know what he did. I guess he abused her in what way, financially. And it took her 8 years to get out of the hellhole. And she told me, he is going to ruin your life until you are completely destroyed. And when you look up and put your hand out and ask him for help, he'll stop. And that's how you're going to get him to love you. That's what she told me. And they're friends. And I was like, I'll never forget it, because she was breaking bed and she's just eating and eating, and she's telling me the story, and I could tell she's emotionally eating while she's telling me how this guy broke her, and the only way to get out of it was to go back to him to say help. So now they're best friends, and she's literally warning me. She's warning me at this time, Lorraine, he's gonna break you until, and in my mind, I'm like, break me? That's impossible. You don't know who I am. So in my mind, again, there's two parts of me. I need to get away from this guy, and I need to help him. And I'm longing to see his daughter at this point, because his daughter and I are, when we're together, we're just like this. And I'm not going to say her name because she's underage, but we got along very well, and he would use that to his advantage. He would use his daughter as a pawn whenever we got into arguments. It's, oh, you can't be around her, you can't see her, you can't talk to her, and it's like, so in April of 2019, I went back to him. We started dancing again. We started dancing again. I remember he went and bought new dance shoes and all that stuff. We started taking classes. We're still doing capoeira. And then we broke up again in July 7th of 2019. I can't even remember what that was about. Broke up in July, and then we got back together in October, and that's when I got pregnant. The thing that freaks me out the most, and I still can't put my finger on it, but my gut is telling me
So you didn't get married though, like you
No, but I'll never forget, in April of 2019, he installed an app on his phone that monitored my menstrual cycle. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll never forget that.
Why though?
I don't know. And I remember asking why he wanted to know, but it didn't faze me. I was like, oh, maybe he just wants to understand my moods or whatever. But when we got back together in October, it was right when I was ovulating. And I honestly think
that's wild.
That he,
That's wild.
I know.
That's wild.
Because he was the one that got the pregnancy test.
Were you really, was there a lot of attraction going on when you guys got back together in that 2019 and you were dancing again? And
yes.
So like it was genuine attraction. Like this guy was really charming or
very
what?
much so.
And he's cool and
and my father's a professional chef, so he would cook, and he would, he used to work at the Banquise, so he has some like side prepping skills. So he knows how to set it all up and look them all good. I mean, even though it takes him like 3 hours to make eggs, but still, he would put on a big show. You know, I make my own bread, I make my own kefir, I do my own things, like I sew my own clothes. Like he's very. And
he led you, and that was like one of the things that you were also thinking about, that you considered deeply about your attraction.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Okay, and then so you guys and then you have a baby, and then you have Sparrow. This is the December.
In December of 2019, I'm pregnant at this point.
Yeah.
We're not together. He broken up with me.
He broke up with you, why?
He kicked me out of his house at 11 o'clock at night while I was pregnant because I wouldn't eat the food he prepared. We had just come back from capoeira.
That's nonsense.
And he made pesto. If anybody makes pesto, you make pesto with basil. But this time he had parsley, lots and lots of parsley. And the smell of it made me nauseous.
Okay.
And he kept on telling me to eat it. And I'm like, I'm not gonna eat this. But I find out later that when you eat parsley in the early stages of your pregnancy, that can induce miscarriage.
Oh,
I didn't know
wild.
that. I didn't know that.
That's super weird.
Yeah.
Okay, this guy's weird.
He's toxic.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget being on the phone with my capoeira teacher. She's yelling at me. It's his friend. She's like, why don't you eat the food? Eat the food. And I'm like, and in my mind, why is this woman taking his side.
Yeah.
I'm locked myself in the bathroom at this point.
That sounds really.
I know, it
weird
was crazy.
to me.
I'll never forget that. She's like, why don't you just eat it? Just eat it. And I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Anyways, it was nuts. It was a shit show.
It sounds like a lot of energy about something that's really like not important. But okay, so do you see any other nonsense behavior? Because to me, this is sounding like nonsense behavior.
Yes.
There's the dating app, the pregnancy app. That's
Yeah.
nonsense behavior.
The menstrual app, yes.
This food thing. This is nonsense behavior. The drinking half a glass
I'll never
and
forget
then giving
that.
you the full cup.
So, no,
nonsense
not giving
behavior.
me the full cup. He
Oh
drank.
yeah, the part that's
Yeah.
yeah. So what other kind of like are there other nonsense behaviors that we can see that override, the charming, leading and dancing and social proof Martin?
There's so many other things. There's so many other stories that, like when, like after I had the baby, 2 hours after I had, after my child, after I had Sparrow, he created a huge scene in the hospital. Like security was gonna come. They were gonna ask him to leave if he didn't calm down. He just made this big scene 2 hours after having the baby, and then I told him, if you want to stay in the hospital with me, you're gonna have to apologize. Like, sincerely apologize. So what did he do? He wrote this big, long thing and posted it on Facebook.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was well written. He's a great writer. And again, for a people pleaser,
Is it about attacking you?
no, not attacking me, praising me, how strong I was, a great mom, and the pregnancy, you handled it so well, and I was so impressed, and how calm I was, because my son was born with a cord around his neck. And when, I was so, thinking about it now, it's hilarious. I just had a child, baby's coming out, he's blue, and the doctors are focused on Martin freaking out. That's how much of a fucking narcissist this man is. They're focused on him freaking out. And in my mind, and I'll never forget saying in this voice, I don't know what had come over me. My whole body went numb. And I just remember saying, Martin, talk to him. Talk to him, Martin. And I remember him saying, he was like freaking out, and he said, Sparrow, champion, respire. I'll never forget him saying that. Respire, champion. And then when Sparrow started crying, my whole body was like, I could breathe. And they brought him over and they put him on my chest. And I was like, oh God, okay, he's okay. But
That's wild.
it was, yeah.
So this Facebook post,
Oh,
this
God.
Facebook post, I'll just explain. His intentions wasn't good.
Nope.
It wasn't about like trying to actually build you up.
Nope.
Because behind closed doors, he was being disrespectful. and
He
he's
called me
stressing you out.
stupid every single day.
Oh my
Every
God.
single day from 2020 until he left in 2021, he would call me stupid for something. And
Wow, that is outrageous. That is so outrageous.
it's not like I believed it,
I know you don't.
but
it's
it's every single day.
Yeah.
That when you're down days, sometimes you think you are stupid, especially when you have mom brain.
Well, you just don't need that kind of person in your ear, your diet. So what I'm trying to say is like, he made that Facebook post to give the appearance
Yes.
like things were going
Oh
good.
yes,
Like,
the appearance.
Give the appearance that things are going good.
Yes.
And the appearance, that's important to him.
Completely.
The reason why it's important to him is because if he gives the appearance, then he closes off the suspicion, and then that's what actually allows him to treat you so poorly
Yep.
in a safe way.
Yes.
Like you're the safe punching bag.
I am the safe punching bag, and he's fooled all of his friends. Like he's got this well-known friend, producer, Amy Miller, who is an advocate for women who've been abused, and
Oh my gosh.
this is her best friend.
Oh my god.
And he would put on a huge facade. Amy, if you think you know this man, you don't. They'll have Zoom calls, and even his voice changes when he talks to her. And as soon as the Zoom call meeting would finish, he would change. I'll never forget during COVID, he'd have these Tuesday meetings with his friends and have dinner and have Sparrow set up and feeding him. I'm like, okay guys, I gotta go now, I gotta bathe him. And then, here Lorraine, go bathe him. Martin, I haven't had a shower yet. I need to take it. Yeah, I've got work to do. I'm doing stuff. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and there's no way these people would believe anything I would say because they say, oh, I've known him for 15 years. He's never been like that to me.
It's such a performance. It's such a performance. That is intense, right?
And
it's so intense to watch. And he's done this a couple times.
Oh God, throughout the whole of COVID that was with him, he would have these meetings every Tuesday and it was like clockwork. And then I'd have to stand there and be like, and she's like, hey Lorraine, and I'm like, and in my mind, all my eyes are saying, help me. My eyes are saying, help me, but my hand is saying, hey.
Yeah.
I remember my landlord came over one day and he texted me while he was downstairs. He's like, is everything okay? He's like literally blink twice if it's not. And I would be like, and then he sent me links to shelters and stuff like that. Like, it was insane. It was insane, the facade I kept up with, the masking he would do, the gaslighting.
Okay. When you met him originally, sure, there was a few little indicators that there was questionable behavior, nonsense behavior. But you didn't know when you first met him that you're making the decision to be in a trapped situation where you're compromising so much of yourself.
I didn't know.
So what's going on is the more you invested into him, the more you were trapped, the more you were playing along, the more of an ask it was for you. And it was taking possession over your life.
Yes.
Like now you've become something completely different.
Completely different. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that fascinating? How your problems multiplied. Mm-hmm. Your problems multiplied and it's increasing over time.
Yes.
And the resentment is building up over time. The self-disgust is probably building over time because you're thinking, oh my God, I'm so stupid. How did I get here? So your self-trust is depleting over time. It's wearing you out.
Yes.
So this is happening on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis.
Daily.
And it's going up and up and up and up. And it's probably really difficult for you to admit these types of things because it makes you feel like you're so unintelligent.
Yes.
Like, right?
Yes.
Especially in those moments, especially when, you're feeling like, I'm being asked to have a persona now.
Yeah.
And I hate lying.
Yeah.
I'm being asked to lie. And that's so fascinating how intense the pain is. You're luckily you didn't get medicalized, like you didn't have to go through any kind of medical assistance for that kind of stuff. Did you? Did you end up getting so much pain and so sick and so ill? Did you end up seeing a psychologist at the time?
Yeah, well, after I had, after the discard in 2021,
okay.
So he broke up with me on May 31st of 2021. And it's funny because that morning he was going on, but oh, I love you so much. I'll never forget that. I was breastfeeding on the couch and he's like, oh, I love you. I was like, okay. And then big drama in the afternoon. He breaks up with me. He's got a moving van the next day and a place to live. Like he had set this whole thing up. So after the discard, I forgot what your question was.
That's okay. It's okay. We were talking about getting medical assistance.
Oh, yes. So after the breakup, he leaves on the 31st. And my son's birthday is June 21. On June 19th, I've got 2 police officers coming to my door. I just finished changing my son's diaper and I'm getting him ready for his sleep. And he's not walking. I have him on my hip and I answer the door. 2 police officers come in. They said, is your name Lorraine Elizabeth Campbell? I said, yes. And he says, put the baby down, you're under arrest. And I said, what are you talking about? And he goes, I said, I'm not putting the baby down. He's not walking. Would you like to come inside and talk about this? He says, put the baby down. And I said, I'm not putting my baby down. Would you like to come inside? And he goes like this, flips up his gun badge, puts his hand on his gun, and he says, are you resisting arrest? And I said, no. Would you like to come inside and talk about this? The female officer at the time touches his elbow and she says, calme-toi. And she says, we're gonna come inside. So they tell me that I'm being charged for 3 counts: assault, damage to property, and causing bodily harm. They were there for 3 hours. I told them everything. And they were so apologetic afterwards. They were like, we're really sorry. We know these things happen to you. Like, there's a lot of things that happened to me during COVID that I haven't shared with you yet. But I went to therapy for that. Because I had nightmares about a cop pulling a gun out on me with my baby. Because Martin told them that I was armed and dangerous. And that was hard. That was really, really hard to know that there's a man in my house with a gun and I have a baby on my hand and he's ready to pull it out on me. It didn't make any sense. But I'll never forget how apologetic he was. And when we went to court almost a year later, when I saw him standing there because he had to appear, as soon as he saw me, he took his hat off and he went like this. I'll never forget that. Because he knew, he's like, fuck. I just fucked her for no reason. And there's a lot of people out there that have fucked me for no reason because of what he said. And I'm not even angry at you guys because I know how convincing a narcissist can be. He convinced me. He fooled me. So how can I blame you for being fooled? But they're dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I went to therapy for that. Thank God, Richard Rappaport, he gave me some sessions of EMDR for free. Thank God. And I left those sessions whenever I hear a police, a siren, or whenever I see a police car, my whole body goes into a state of peace and say, I am loved. I am loved and I am protected. And that therapy helped me so much.
Wow. That's a life-changing day. And
Yeah.
that was what date was that exactly?
That was June 19th,
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah. And I'm sure that was
Oh no, 2021, sorry,
Yeah.
June 19th, 2021.
And I'm
right
sure
before.
that was a huge wake-up call to how somebody can dramatically impact your life in a permanent way. I'm sure you're never going to forget this.
Nope.
There's no way you're ever going to
I
forget
will
this.
never, ever forget that
It
day.
is fascinating to listen to a story like that. And I can only imagine there's so many other people who are listening to what you're saying right now. And they don't even know what they're allowing. So something like listening to the phone calls that he was having over Zoom every single week with somebody who deals with female abuse. Okay, think about that appearance, like the intensity of his appearance. It's not that he's having a Zoom call with a family member pretending things are all okay. It's that he's having a Zoom call with somebody who deals with female abuse.
Award-winning documentarist talking about women's issues and fucking bullshit. And I'm telling her that this guy is abusive. And, oh, and he's my friend. I've known him for so long.
But the alliance.
Exactly.
The alliance that he's making with this person is strategic.
I know it is.
Yeah, the reason why...
And he's bullshit because he talks shit about all of his friends. Every single friend he talks shit about.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's like he makes those alliances specifically to keep the dynamic of the toxic relationship alive. So in a toxic person's mind, a narcissist, he's going, okay, I need to be abusive. This is my drug. I'm addicted to this dynamic. This is what I need. This is my oxygen. How do I get my oxygen? Well, I have to create an appearance. How can I create the biggest appearance possible? Because the biggest appearance possible is what's gonna allow me to say and do whatever I want with the dynamic that I really need. It's a need, but it's like a hard drug addiction. Am I saying this correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is intense. And he's so addicted to putting misery into your life, spreading misery into your life, that he's willing to call the police and try to end your life, or, you know, try to traumatize you in ways, and he's probably getting off on that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And like
is.
the daycare that my son goes to right now are run by his friends. They're run by his friend. You should see the way these people treat me. And I'm an Anglo black female.
Can you get a different daycare?
Oh God, court, in the courts for this all the time. We're in court at the end of this month.
Okay. So
All
we're
the
going to get
time.
to the court stuff in a second, because this is the meat of the whole
Yeah.
discussion, because this has to change, like, obviously.
Yes.
And I'm sure that you've already made progress into getting out of the situation, but I mean, you can talk about it. I'll let you speak about it. But the goal here is to pull yourself away as much as possible and not have it impact your life as much, because you have to move on. And I know you have a vision for what that looks like. That's why we're on camera.
Yes.
We want to get this clear.
Yes.
We want to know what progress looks like in your mind, what your vision looks like in your mind. And we want to know about how to get to a place where you're feeling so much safer, and
Yes.
you never are in the threat of situations like that. That's the goal.
Yes,
here, right?
I am not going to be able to get out of this pit by myself. I literally need to be lifted out. And the only way I'm going to be able to do this is through social awareness, because I am financially strapped. Like, it's one of the stupid things I did, and I say stupid because I didn't do my research. I gave my maternity leave to this man because he made more money for me than I did. I was an entrepreneur, so I had my own business, I had my own daycare. He's an expert physicist for the federal government. I gave him my maternity leave so that he would purchase groceries and things for the family. And he didn't. He bought furniture, drugs, porn, video games, lots of video games. During the course of COVID, I'm taking care of this baby by myself and his child and his friends' children that he would bring to the house for me to watch without pay during COVID because they had to work.
Okay.
And so I'm putting everything on my credit card because he's not buying groceries. I'm hiding food in my desk just to keep my milk. So there's that. I gave him my maternity leave. 2, for the time I had my daycare from 2010 till 2020, I'm paying every month into unemployment. As a sole proprietor, you can protect yourself, just in case you have to close your business, and pay to unemployment. So here I am thinking I have a security blanket because I can, after maternity leave, I can go on unemployment because my daycare's closed. So I give him my maternity leave. I get no money. He takes it. In 2022, I apply for unemployment. They say, oh, I'm sorry, you haven't been working for a year. You don't qualify. So they have 10 years of my paid unemployment. Quebec government, Canadian government, I don't know which one it is, but they have my money. And I don't get any of it. So he leaves in 2021. I'm stuck with the rent. I'm stuck with legal bills. I'm stuck with my car payment, insurance, everything, you name it. And I have no revenue. Oh, and the criminal charges that he pressed on me, I can't work with children. I can't reopen my daycare. So all my training, all my experience, I can't use.
Do you think he calculated that?
Of course. Of course he calculated, because I'll never forget
That's
the lawyer.
pretty intense.
The
That is
lawyer,
pretty
she
intense.
said, the family lawyer, she said, I'll never forget this in her opening statement, and she said this: we will see to it that she never works with children again. Sarah Kanta, she said that, and I'll never forget in one of her emails, instead of writing Sarah Kanta, she wrote Sarah Satan, and I'll take it as Satan. She wrote that. And she said, we will see to it that you never work with children again.
Okay, how did they make that happen? How did they make it so that you don't even get to work with children?
Because it's criminal charges.
Because it's a criminal charge. What was the criminal charge?
Assault.
Okay, so it was a false allegation.
Yes,
though?
I got acquitted in 2023 December, but it took from 2021 to 2023. I was not allowed to work with children. My reputation. He told people
And
that.
how did he prove? Like, what's the with false allegations? You have to somehow prove.
Yeah, he had pictures of a broken plant. He said that I assaulted him with a plant. Yeah, Judge Richmond Randall, one of the best judges here in Montreal, said that this man is manipulative, immature, and extremely dangerous, and Miss Campbell needs to be protected. And I will get the file to show that written down in a statement. He told the courtroom that I need to be protected from this man.
Okay, so this guy thought of taking pictures of plants and
Yep.
saying like, and that was literally the proof. Is it the only proof that he had?
He
I'm just
had
curious.
an audio recording, and the audio recording from the judge, he said, Miss Campbell, you were surprisingly really calm during this. Martin was, yeah, he had an audio and he had pictures, and the judge threw them out. He's like, what are you here to prove?
Okay, so the judge didn't believe the false allegations.
No,
though.
and my oldest son was there.
Okay, so what's going on with how you got in this situation where you can't even take care of children? Because you're saying that they didn't pass, or they did pass. What's going on?
They did pass, but
Okay.
from 2021
Yeah.
until 2023, I had those criminal charges pending.
Pending. Okay.
And I
okay.
couldn't work
Oh
with
my
children.
God! Wow, wow. Okay, but can you now?
Yes, but how can I rebuild?
Yeah, exactly. I understand this. Yeah. Okay.
They took my son when I was breastfeeding. I lost my milk. I'm still in postpartum. It takes 7 years for a woman to pass through postpartum. I'm still going through that. I've been living in a survival mode since 2019. My body has not been at rest. I've lost 30 pounds. If I'm lucky, I can digest 1 meal a day.
Yeah, it's intense how much he thought about how to manipulate an entire situation. It's intense how much he went out of his way
Of course.
to make sure that you're deprived and corner you and back you up into a corner
Yeah.
and consciously think about ways to...
He's still doing that. He's
Yeah.
trying to seize my bank account now. He's trying to seize my assets. He's trying everything.
And he gets off on that.
Of course.
And he gets energy from
Of
that.
course.
Okay. So even before this video, I don't know if it was on camera or not, but we discussed a little bit about how he uses information against you. Yeah,
Yes.
people that use information against you.
Yes.
This is a common trait.
Yes.
It's not just with narcissists, but it's with energy vampires.
Yes.
That's what I'm all about. You're about narcissism. Okay. He could be using information from this video against him, so we don't know. But that doesn't stop you from getting the video and getting the content out. But I also like what you said a little earlier about how using information, audio recordings, awareness. The awareness is how I stop it. Awareness is kind of your secret weapon right now.
Completely.
And so it's fascinating how much of your life is going to be really devoted going forward for you to get out to using the camera, using audio, using
That's
awareness.
funny. Yeah.
Like, I bet you never thought about
No.
this, right?
No.
That's the same situation I'm in. When I hear that, I immediately go, well, yeah, I had to leave in 2017 for my family. And I knew I was going to be a content creator. But for me to really rebuild my life, for people to hear me, for people to understand me, because I'm going to get in intimate relationships out here, right? I'm going to be meeting people, trying to build a family, and there's a lot of question marks about my family and stuff like that. They're going to have to learn and listen about what I'm all about. And my message is my mess. It
Yeah.
really is, So this guy that came into your life, he's really, giving you a new mission.
Yeah.
Okay? 'Cause-
Totally.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you resonate with that.
Yes,
right?
that's why I started my podcast.
Exactly.
I started
So
my podcast.
Beautiful,
Yes,
beautiful.
Yes.
Keep going.
I started my podcast in 2020 in the relationship. We were in it. I was living in a place of fear. I was walking on eggshells all the time. And then something clicked inside of me that said, Lorraine, do an art project. Do something that has nothing to do with him. And what happened was he was very supportive at first. Very, very supportive. In fact, so supportive, he's like, here, use my laptop to do all your recordings. Use my laptop to do all your interactions. So I put my email and all my passwords on his laptop. And when I started attracting really great guests, like one of my favorite guests is Mark Robert Waldman. He's a neuroscientist, a world-renowned neuroscientist. He's on the spectrum. And I'll never forget when Martin found out that I had him as a guest, he lost his shit. He made sure that interview didn't go well. The internet mysteriously went off that day. Oh, all of a sudden I wasn't allowed to use this laptop anymore. I had to find other ways. But no matter what, I was determined to have that interview.
Okay, but what was the show about in the beginning?
The show is about parenting ourselves and parenting others.
Okay, and he was on board with supporting you, and
Yes.
you allowed him into that space.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Because I needed to create a loving household. I mean,
And you felt like that would have been good things.
Yes.
So you're still trying to repair it in
yes.
2022.
No, in 2020.
Oh, in 2020.
In 2020,
Okay.
I'm still trying to. I didn't know how long.
Even
COVID
after all the stupid remarks and
Yes,
stuff like that?
come
So you're
on.
still trying?
Because we're stuck.
Okay,
We
okay.
can't go anywhere.
Oh, yeah, it's COVID, right?
It's COVID.
Okay.
I've called
Okay, fair enough.
4 different shelters. They're all full. They don't have protocol. I'm not allowed to bring family members in. I can't go to their family. My parents are in their late 70s at this time.
You're still thinking like, okay, it's 2020 with that podcast. You're thinking it could be like dance. It could be a good thing for the
Yeah,
relationship.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you might repair it. Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is the way that he's experiencing that, the way he's viewing that, now like that you can look back at it, is he's seeing like as, oh, she's giving me permission to keep this relationship dynamic going. She's enabling my primary drug. She's okay with the abuse. She's self-sacrificing, self-abandoning. He's getting that message, and this is more of an opportunity to go deeper down the rabbit hole.
Yep, and
Yeah,
that's where he
fascinating.
wanted me to put all my passwords in his computer, all my personal information he wanted to have.
But that's fascinating because you viewed it as, okay. We have some mistakes. No one's perfect, this, that, and the third, but we can make it happen. He's going, let me exploit the way that she's viewing this. Oh, this is what you think? All right. Well, this is more of an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, this is actually even better for me.
Yeah.
Because now she's willing to stay in the relationship. So that's fascinating.
And then he aligns me with his friends who focus on what's that called again? Non-communication, something non-confrontal communication,
Nonviolent communication.
non-violent communication. So he sets me up with one of his friends, Colin, and we do email exchanges because Colin is supposed to be a guest on my podcast. Colin's a friend of his, very good friend. Again, Colin, you don't know Martin. You think you know Martin. He's just got you played. So as soon as we break up, Colin and I have an appointment on June 9th of 2021 to follow up to do it on a podcast. And I write to him asking, hey, are we still going to do it? And he writes back and says, I'm very sorry, I won't be able to engage with you anymore after what you've done to my friend. So Martin has given them some narrative.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's exactly what I was just about to say is like, you're calling out a couple of names and for a fact, like, yo, this Martin guy is wild. Like, he's really a double life. But these other people they're experiencing this, they may be experiencing this message as, whoa, wait, this lady's crazy actually.
Yeah.
And what's going on is you may not really have any, do you have other support systems, by the way, like outside of the podcast and your social media accounts? You have like family members that you're discussing this with ongoing and they know you since the beginning, they know you're not crazy. And yeah, sanity. So the word that comes to mind is sanity. Am I right?
The thing is,
It's a back and forth
it
between
is.
sanity.
My
This person's
story
saying it,
has
person's
not
saying it.
changed from day one to this day. Martin's story changes
Oh,
every single day.
Okay.
So that's the beauty of consistency,
Yeah.
is that I have nothing to hide.
Yeah, the truth doesn't mind being challenged.
Thank you.
But lies, that's when you become a threat. That's when people become a threat. That's when survival tactics come into play. That's why changing the story. That's why adding new elements and like...
Before we just met, and I told you what happened. Right before Matt and I just met, I just saw one of Martin's friends. And he literally came up to me and held me. Like, not a hug, held me. And he said, I'm so sorry this is happening to you. This is the second time he's done that. He called me about 2 months ago on a Sunday afternoon at 5:30. He said it was a pocket dial, but I don't think it was a pocket dial. And he just said, Lorraine, I know what's happening, and I'm so sorry. None of my friends will call Martin and say that to him. Mm-hmm. But the fact that his friends, is calling me up to say that says
It's a
everything.
wild timing.
And that's why I love you, Renaud, because he's the one that's the truthful. He's so truthful. He still loves Martin, and I don't expect any of his friends not to have love. But he knows there's something wrong.
Yeah, something's up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I respect Renaud so much.
Yeah. So, wow, this is going crazy. Let's say, we want to go forward, and there's no more you trying to rekindle anything. Okay, yeah, I'm glad.
He's the
I'm glad
son
you're
of
there.
the father
I'm
of
glad
my
you're there.
child, and
Yeah.
I raised my son to respect his father.
Yeah.
I also raised
I
my
know that.
son to tell his truth.
Yes.
I will never lie to a child. That is something that most parents fuck up. I won't tell my child about Santa Claus or the fairies or the elf on the shelf or any of that bullshit, because when they get older and they realize that you bold-faced lied to them, I don't mind telling my children about stories and make-believe and let's have an adventure in our imaginations, but I am not going to try to convince somebody that something that is not true is truth.
Yeah, you're two things I'll say about you. You are so conscious about how you're treating this situation, and you're so towards your child.
Yes.
You're not trying to get your son to be against Martin.
No.
Immediately, and I believe you. And you also are conscious about how this situation will affect him. You're so selfless. It's more than just about you. There's somebody else in this situation, so that's what this is about, and that's why I support you. When I support you, what I'm doing is I'm thinking, Lorraine is not doing this to protect her reputation. She just wants to get out of this situation. She wants to have healthy experiences and have a healthy upbringing for her son. So that's why I rock with you, okay?
Cool, totally. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. I
My
know-
son's identity
Yeah.
is built on the way his father and I interact.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a lot of memories of that.
Yeah.
So his identity now is going to be built on his building of truth, and I have to give him confidence to trust that. So I can't give him reason to doubt his father's love, and I can't give him reason to doubt my love. I have to give him confidence to trust himself. And he knows something's wrong. He knows something is wrong.
He's starting to become a little older, like he's 4
He
or 5.
knows. Yeah, he's 4 now.
Okay.
And he knows something's up.
And he will when the time is right. When the time is right.
I'm totally okay with it.
Yeah. Well, you can't change.
No.
There's certain things you can and you can't change.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk about what we can change a little bit more.
Yes.
Because obviously, you can change the way that you're raising your child. And one of the things that you can change as well is not rekindle anything.
No.
You know that through your first toxic experience, that was something that I needed to be clear about. The reason why I traced some of your relationships in the past is because I wanted to see if you keep making the same damn mistake.
Oh,
You're
I
not
see what
making
you
the same
mean.
damn mistake, bro. Okay, so you're legit. Like, you
Okay.
made a mistake. There's something that went off. That's what that is. You're not someone that if we're trying to support you, you're just going to keep making the same damn mistake.
No.
There's that.
I have not been in a relationship since.
Yeah.
And 3 months after the discard in 2021, by November, Martin was already in another relationship with another woman who would spend the night and sleep in bed with my son. And I know this for a fact. And for me, if you have a child and you're introducing a child to a stranger that you've known for 3 months, if you've known somebody for 3 months, that person's a stranger, and you're allowing them to sleep in bed with your child, that's a form of abuse.
It is 100%.
It's a form of abuse, and you can deny it all you want. But I know, Dominic, I know you've been in bed with my child. I know it,
And that's intense. That's intense.
and I only have love for you, and that's it.
And knowing what he's all about is like he's doing that intentionally.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
He's trying to create a facade. He's never dated a black woman before me, but now he's got another black girlfriend, and he's trying to create the whole facade of, look how great I am as a dad. I've got my little mixed child, and I got my black girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know, I got my friends.
Yeah. It's wild
I got
to
my
think,
job. I got my lawyers.
It's wild to think about like how people live their life just using people. Like that's what they're doing. They're just
It's
using
not
people
even
as a
life.
pawn.
It is.
It's just using
It's
as
a
people as a
game.
pawn. It's just a game.
It is a game. It's a strategic
It's wild.
game. I've watched this
And it's
man play 15-hour Star Wars game. I don't even know what the frick it's called, but it's a game and it takes the whole freaking night. During COVID, he had one of my friends come over, Morris, and they spent 15 hours playing this strategy game. And let me tell you, Martin was so hell-bent on winning. Like, he would go to the bathroom and I could see it in his eyes. He's like, I'm gonna get all of his. And I'm like, dude, it's a fucking game. Why don't you go to sleep? It's like, but he's all about strategy. He loves strategy
That's
games.
wild. You know, I'll talk to a little bit about personality disorders and how it's hard sometimes to identify the indicators. There's a guy who studies personality disorders. His name is Robert Hare. He studies psychopaths.
Ooh.
And even him, someone who is constantly speaking with psychopaths for so many years of his life, has a hard time identifying when the psychopath is lying or not, because it's literally a part of their brain. Their brain is wired differently. But just talking about the trickery, we keep talking about the trickery and how it's hard to identify and how you can trick professionals at this kind of stuff.
Yes, you can.
You know,
yes.
you really can.
Whenever
it's so invisible.
well, it is invisible unless you've known him for long enough.
Yeah.
What happens
Yeah,
when
yeah.
he's lying? He goes into victim mode.
Yeah,
He
play
turns
victim.
very small. He goes into his feminine state.
Yeah.
And then if that's not convincing,
Yeah.
it's erratic.
Yeah.
And then it gets to the point where you get scared and then you give in. That's a tactic that he uses.
Very important tactic.
Yeah.
Playing victim.
Yeah.
And the intensity of it has to be so real.
And so big.
Yeah. That's really important. That's a serious survival tactic. It has nothing to do with the relationship. It has everything to do with them. It's such a self-absorbed move.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. And you know, one of the things I want to mention about his personality, because his dad, like I said, his dad did the same thing to his mom. So his dad took Martin's parents divorced when he was 4. And from the time he was 4 until 9, his father moved Martin around 30 different times. Grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, and he never had a home. So he got to play different personalities. He got to play different roles in all these different places.
Wow, that's wild.
And
that is wild.
I know he developed a competitive relationship with his cousins, and there was this envy. And I never understood the envy until one of his aunts, Lisette, she sent us for Sparrow's birthday, first when he was born, she sent us a family history book that she published. It's a thick book. All the pictures dating back to like when Martin's family started in Quebec City and like before they had like cobblestone roads and shit, okay? There's pictures of everybody in the family in this book. There's a 5-page spread of Martin's cousin's wedding. He married an Asian woman. 5 pages of the pictures and china, all the beautiful things. So Martin's going through this family book. I'll never forget it. He's going through it. And then he just picked it up and he went, and he threw it on the ground. And I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I'm going through the book. There's pictures of his daughter, pictures of his dad, pictures of his dad's new wife. Not one picture of Martin in that family book. Not one picture. It's because he has, I don't know what the issue is, but he doesn't have relationships with his family because they know something's wrong with this guy. Everybody has a picture in that family history book.
Wild.
The only mention of him is because he was the officiary for his dad's wedding to his new wife. He married his dad and his wife, and all it says is this one little line about who married them. That's the only mention of him in the family history. This woman took a lot of time to research her family history. There's a lot of information in this book and not one picture of Martin in there, not even as a baby. She just completely omitted him. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, that's a wild observation. That is a
And
wild
I'll never forget when he went through the book and he just
threw
it on the ground.
Yeah, wild. Very wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, very wild. Like the self-image, the way that's an observation on, you know, like how he views himself as well. And that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting a lot.
It's true. And I know that. And I felt bad about that too, because I don't think anybody's ever put all the pieces together, like why he's like that. His
You
dad
said
fucked
it.
him up.
Yeah, you said it. So I'll just go through some of the questions that like
Yeah.
is worth asking
Yeah.
when we're thinking about narcissism.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do they view you? What's important for them? What's their poison? What do they get scared of? What's the best way to deal with them? Why it's pointless to talk to them? What's the difference on what we're focusing on? How did they become an energy vampire? And some of the indicators of energy vampires. Those are some of the overall things that we talk about when we think about narcissism, right? And we just go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. And that's what this awareness thing means. Like it's asking the right questions. Those questions that I just mentioned, those are ways of orienting yourself towards the people in your life that are causing you intense pain, and they're out to get you like a snake. They are a snake. That's what I call an energy vampire. They're out to poison you.
Yeah.
What does that poison look like? You know, misery loves company.
Yeah.
Just the way that it's hard to get off of them. And yeah, how we have tendency sometimes, because we're just like normal people, we don't even think about these things until it happens to
Yeah.
us. You know, all these things you're talking about, you probably didn't think a damn thing about narcissism maybe 20
I
years
didn't
ago.
even know what narcissism
Yeah,
was.
yeah. We don't know anything until you encounter.
I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was like, wow. And I'm dyslexic, so I stay away from too many words with like like
Oh,
two S's and
really?
I's. And, yeah, like
Oh,
that
wow.
was like I didn't even know what that was.
But it's pretty wild, right? Like, and you know, I'm really glad that we covered a lot of the things that we did. Is there anything that you can think of that right now in your life you really like thinking about and discussing? Yeah.
I think it's just creating social awareness. Like people don't know what to do.
Okay.
Like his friends that know something's wrong.
Yeah.
They feel paralyzed.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they
Yeah.
don't want to lose their friend. They don't want to be disloyal. They don't want to break the cycle of community enablement. But at the same time, it doesn't sit well within them.
Yeah. That's fascinating. I 100% agree with you. Do you know what this is to
Yeah.
me? I compare it a lot in my mind. It's easy for me to understand with self-defense. Like, you know, if you know how to defend yourself, if you know the jujitsu, like if someone grabs you, you know how to get
Yeah.
out, you're really secure.
Yeah.
Like these guys that I train with at the gym, man, they're studs. They don't have anything to worry about. Same thing with me with all this relational intelligence. When I know someone is I can literally read it in people's eye contacts. I'm good at recognizing, identifying energy vampires, boundaries. All this kind of stuff is easy. Like for me,
Yeah.
it really is.
Yeah.
I mean it. So when you know this stuff, it's not complicated. But then when you start to see other people and you see them having a frustrated, hard time, it's just like, man, like I wish I can help you see that
Yeah.
you have other emotional options.
Thank
you have
you.
other emotional options.
Well, you
you
know
can
what,
do
though?
other things that can make you not so wrestle. Like, okay, this is the one. Don't wrestle with a pig because you'll just get dirty and the pig likes it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that Ross Rosenberg told
Yeah,
me
yeah,
about.
yeah.
So when I started to realize that, like, I don't have to wrestle, like, I don't have to get dirty, I don't have to get frustrated, I don't need hypertension, I don't need to stress. I can come in and be myself. I can be the cause of my environment and not the effect of my
Yes.
environment. So that's what, you know, we're offering in not just this video, but in upcoming videos. Like, that's what this is, the Star Parent Podcast is all about. You know, it's all about this thing to change who you are, because you have to change who you are with this kind of stuff.
Have to. You
have
literally
to.
have to. Like that was the best thing about this whole situation. The hardest thing for me was stripping my identity.
Yeah.
You know, like literally, I was so committed to being the best qualified early childhood educator, so committed to social emotional development that I was petrified that I couldn't be that anymore. And when I rid myself of this idea that I have to be this, it's like I have so much freedom now. I don't have to be this person. I can be whoever I want. I don't care, you know? And one of the things I just wanted to talk about before we move on is that you talk about the energy vampires, and the narcissist preys on people who don't have community. Okay, so his best friend, Vero, who I spoke about earlier, the one I went to dinner with, and she told me about how he will paralyze you until you reach your hand out and say, help me. She was very much abused by her father when she was a child. She has no family. She has very little friends. He is her only support. And when you get so dependent on feeling love, you abandon what's good for you sometimes.
100%. That's exactly
And
it.
he plays on that. And because I
Social
didn't
predators.
have a big community, and he thought that I was going to be reliant on him. I'm okay with being a lone wolf. I'm okay with standing up on my own. But there are some people who are not.
100%.
And that's why they stay in there.
Yeah, 100%. No, the social predator looks for people that are defeated and won't say anything.
Yep.
So if you want to do the opposite of that,
Yeah.
you have to talk about it. You have to be at
Yes.
ease. It's not you're not worn out. You have spring in your step. You still have stars behind your eyes.
Yep.
You are still. That is the worst case scenario for an energy vampire, and I know that.
100%.
So that's the thing. Like I've encountered people who've tried to prey on me before,
Oh, yeah.
and then they wake up and then they realize, oh fuck. Okay, well, other social environments for me as well. And then
Okay.
they wake up and they realize, oh wait, this guy is so confident. This guy is really socially intelligent. He's seen me before. I'm screwed. I'm fucked. And then they try to double down on more survival tactics, but they don't know they're already cornered. It's happened so many times with me. Happens through body language a lot of times.
Yeah.
People try to communicate. So like
Micro-
we haven't even spoken about subcommunication.
Yeah, I was
But
just
a
gonna
lot
say.
of times people will do things like, leave a room and not respond to you, not look at you, not talk to you. They treat you like you're invisible.
Yeah.
Don't associate with me vibes. All these kinds of things. A lot of
Microaggressions.
microaggressions
Yes.
a lot of times is about keeping the momentum alive of the dynamic. Like I'm doing this stuff just to maintain the energy of the room, the tension, the dynamic, so that I still have an upper hand. And I've seen people try to do that to me for many years. They don't understand that I'm a master at identifying this kind of stuff, and that it doesn't do shit to me, and it totally backfires. Like the protest behavior, plenty of times at like sometimes restaurants that I work at, they just totally flop. They get humiliated, embarrassed that they tried that shit on me. And
Oh, yikes.
anyways, so we know about what's the funds are going to go to on your GoFundMe account.
Ooh.
We're going to post the link in the bottom and the link in the description below. But what's going on is that's oxygen. Money, awareness, that's just oxygen so that we can breathe. It's energy. That's what money is. But people abuse money sometimes. So what's going on with this next little discussion is we're going to talk about how responsible we are at managing the money, how responsible we are at managing the energy, and what we hope to achieve with the money. Because sometimes people have great causes, but they just don't know what the fuck to do with their money.
Right.
Like they're just like so irresponsible, and it's like a great cause, a great goal, a great mission, but what does success look like with funds that we're getting on GoFundMe?
Wow. Well, I'm so thankful for my friends who have put it together for me. I mean, I honestly didn't have the energy to stand up for myself. I was so defeated from having my baby taken and my milk drying up. I kind of went into a little bit of depression, and my friends were like, we have to do something for Lorraine. So the GoFundMe funds are not even managed by me. They're managed by my friends. The monies go directly to lawyers. They go directly to paying my rent. And so this is how I've been staying alive. I haven't been able to work. I haven't brought this up yet, but I'm wearing glasses because of what my abuser did to me. I have a hole in my left eye because of a blow that I received. I'm running away from him trying to rape me, which we will be going to court hopefully very soon for. It's a whole nother story. But I have had surgery. I had 3 hernias after I had the baby that I had to have surgery for. So I was unable to pick up my child. I was unable to walk for quite some time. So the GoFundMe funds at this time was helping to pay my rent and pay my credit card bills and help me survive. But now I can't rely on legal aid lawyers. I love you guys. You do your best. But unfortunately, they just are not committed to doing the extra work needed to defeat someone like this man. He's ruthless, and he's got a lawyer, Satan, who is just as ruthless, if not more. And so I need to raise funds to pay a lawyer who actually found me. I could just tell that she was sent from God. I believe it. She found me just based on people sharing the story, and she she's cut her costs by half, but it's still quite a bit of money that I can't afford to pay by myself. So these funds are going directly to her. And it's not that, it's not that I don't believe that we can defeat this man. It's just that I know it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot to bring to the surface what he's done. I've got countless videos, audio, emails to use as evidence that a lawyer has to go through. Every hour that they spend is money.
Okay.
That,
fantastic.
yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so there's keeping you afloat. There's keeping you afloat, but do you have, I know the Star Parent podcast, like I said, you go there, you support us and we support you. Like, we're supporting you if you're going through this situation. We're supporting you to have relational intelligence so that you don't get in this kind of situation in the future. We're supporting you so that you know what to look out for. It makes you stronger. This is about strength. We build you strength. We give you oxygen. It's something in return for our help. So do you have a vision for how much you want to also grow this
100%.
podcast? Yeah,
I mean,
because it's your mission now.
It is. I even throughout, since 2022, I've been offering support calls on our podcast. I have people in Germany, in UK, in Australia that I talk to weekly, just who are going through the same thing, but don't have the community to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I've just started doing emergency support calls for Women Aware, which is also an organization here in Montreal that helps people, women who have suffered intimate partner violence.
Fantastic.
So I mean,
so
I
you've
do what I
already
can.
helped,
Yeah.
and we want that help to be more ongoing.
Yes.
We want to have better quality conversations. We want to improve that service, and I mean, because you're so deeply involved in it in ways that most people are not, you're the person that's qualified to talk about it.
Well,
you're the person that knows about how to support people because you have so many skills just from so many social skills, so many social skills, even outside of your professional pursuits, like with improv with me, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
It's not just about the message, but it's about the expressive effects, the way that you can communicate and the way that you can heal, the way your knowledge and experience and years. This is hard to replicate.
Yes. And it's also the boundaries that I put in place. I don't go on support calls to sit and gossip and listen to you bash your ex or bash your abuser. No, we are talking about methods of healing for you, surrender, letting go, taking accountability, and just pure listening to what you need. For me, I rest in I've gotten a lot of my strength from being accountable for where I am in my life and not being afraid to ask for help.
Yeah. I love that you brought it back to the intention, because I am all with what you just said. It's sometimes people watch these videos just to validate their pain, and they vacillate on their pain, and they just nurse their wounds, but that's not the way to truly stop bleeding. And that's what's going on here. Is we're really trying to stop bleeding. We're trying to move on, and it's a part of wellness, the wellness initiative. To me, I really love working out. I love eating healthy food, and I also like taking care of my mental health. And that's all the same thing to me. To me, this is all the same thing to me. I translate a lot of my understanding with martial arts self-defense, with relational intelligence self-defense as well. And it's about defending yourself against this kind of stuff. Okay? The more stuff like this, the more popular this kind of stuff gets, the more support. So support Lorraine and her mission on doing this, because this is something that we specialize in, and we want to support more people than what we've already done. Right?
We have to raise about $10,000 to pay family court lawyer. I'm about $30,000 in debt on my credit card right now. And those are my biggest targets.
Yeah, you have targets, as you should. That's how you get things done, is you have a target, you have a vision, you have an idea, you have a direction. We're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing, okay? So I'm gonna leave it at that. And I know that we can also have a conversation in the upcoming months. So
Yeah.
we can see the progress
Yeah.
so that we can keep the momentum
Love it.
of the targets going.
Ooh.
We can keep the momentum of wellness going. We can
Yes.
keep the momentum of doing something good for others,
Yes.
supporting good on others. This is the main mission in life, is to really be God's hands and to really serve others, heal people. This is, I know, and I love how you resonate with this, Lorraine, okay?
I love that so much.
I love how you resonate with this, Lorraine. Do you have anything to say? Because I was just about to wrap it up like
Oh,
that.
I love it. I love it like that. I mean, that's all I could say is, just look out for what's coming. I'm working on producing a show right now, Narcissism, the musical, which I hope to share more with you in the months to come.
Fantastic. Check it out on her Instagram. Give me a hug. I want this. Give me a hug.